From the backstretch at Saratoga, this is Loose on the Lead with Steve Bick and Seth Merrow. Loose on the Lead is sponsored by
Good morning and welcome to Loose on the Lead. Seth Merrow, no Steve Bick. He's down at Colonial, but an able substitution. Kali Francois. Kali, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. Did you have fun at the races yesterday?
Well, until the last race,
well,
which, of course, the controversy we talked about quite a bit on the handicapping show.
Yeah.
And I said, and I still feel this way. It shouldn't happen. It happened 7 years ago. They should have put some protocols in place to avoid it. And that's my thing. We can now wring our hands all we want. But my thing is, let's just get something in place that prevents it from happening again. And I think there are multiple fairly simple solutions that would do that. But, it's unfortunate to end a big Saturday with a kind of a black mark like that. But we move on.
We move on. We have races today. Sunday, the card is looking good. We also have races to cover from Saturday at Colonial. But let's instead of going to the last race, why don't we kind of go back to a little of these prequels before our grade 2 and our grade 1 the contest that we had yesterday.
And I wanted to bring up because, again, Kali on Saturday afternoons is in the paddock giving some paddock commentary before the 8th race yesterday. Gave a little tout to the winner, little knee, which, however it is pronounced, we were debating beforehand. But regardless of how it's pronounced, if you had it, you and listen to Kali, you walked up to the window and cashed. Talk a little bit about your paddock thoughts on this one and then the performance in the 8th yesterday.
Yeah, Seth, I think this one, just overall, the Cassie horses, just as far as fitness and tone and condition, just look the tightest out of all these fields that I've seen them come in. So that just the horse caught my attention right away early on. And that I think that was really the major thing of it. And honestly, just got the trip. I mean, I expected this one to kind of be on the lead, and this one got to sit right off of it. Really kind of tuned up professionally, just mentally wise. And I really love that about this one.
If you played around with that, use surveillance underneath, you got a nice little exacta there with the Linda Rice runner running second. So again, there was a little bit of opportunity to maybe cash some tickets if you listen to Kali during the afternoon. Again, every Saturday, Kali will be in the paddock with some commentary. What is the last 4 or 5, right? Last 4 or 5 races?
5 races, yeah.
Last 5 races, which typically includes also the stakes action. So tune in for that. All right, let's get some thoughts on the stakes action yesterday, and we'll start with the sword dancer. And again, you had the interview with the Appleby assistant yesterday that we showed, talking a little bit about Nation's Pride and El Cordobas. Between the two, I preferred El Cordobas. It sounded like from your interview, they were high on Nation's Pride, who ran very well. William Buick chose that. I assume chose that one. Fabian Prat on El Cordobas. But that said, we'll watch the stretch run here. It will be El Cordobas getting it done. I say between the two Applebys, I preferred El Cordobas. But on top, I had Farbridge. Ooh, that was the disappointment of the day. Farbridge runs 6th in here, but El Cordobas, nice ride, Flavian Prat, to get it done as, again, the number 1 horse getting splitting the two rivals and getting the victory in here. As I say, nice ride, nice win.
Yeah, I think, El Cordobas got, kind of that perfect box trip that Christopher was talking about in his interview that we showcased prior on yesterday's show. Also, when it comes to Nation's Pride, I do think that he kind of was a little bit more forward than they would have liked him to be. So just to he did a little bit of the hard work for El Cordobas. I thought Farbridge was a very vulnerable favorite in this race, just with what I saw the Appleby horses coming up. And the number 2 horse was the Cherie DeVoe horse, was a horse that I picked up that caught my attention in the paddock. Didn't look like much before they were getting in the paddock, but as soon as the tack came on, that horse probably grew another hand. So that just caught my attention right away there. Wasn't surprised at all by Cherie DeVoe's runner.
I will hit on that because you just said it, Maggie, I hear her say it, or Acacia or whatnot. I will readily admit, I've said it before. I walk in the paddock, I look at the horses, and it's like, they're all beautiful. I am not one of those people, but I appreciate when folks who have been around horses a long time make those comments. And a lot of times the comment is, the horse was a little bit laid back coming in. But it seems like for a lot of horses, they put the tack on. It's like, oh, okay, and business time.
That's really a common case amongst all of them. But this one, just he was so tiny compared. He was tiny compared to the rest of the field. So he just really didn't catch my attention. Sure, he looked great, and Cherie's horses always look great coming in the paddock. But just I needed to see something a little bit more, and I definitely saw it there. So 2 different personalities coming in and out of the paddock there for the sword dancer.
And then they again, the folks who watch with more intelligence than I also say sometimes once they get on the track, they can really perk up too.
Right.
And are worth maybe taking note of.
Well, and you get to this point where these horses are professionals. They know the cues of how the game kind of goes a little bit. So that's all within it as well. Especially these older types as well, Seth.
Understandable, certainly. Yeah. You talked to the Appleby assistant yesterday. I was in the winner's circle. Just a couple of comments after the win by El Cordobas from the Charlie Appleby assistant, caught in the winner's circle yesterday. Okay. Let's take a listen.
The 11th race is the start of.
Yeah, the way he ran there, you'd almost say he'll keep on improving. Fabian said he hit the line really well. It was a bit messy for him in the early part when Fabian kind of made that move, but he relaxed and when he tipped him out, he soon finished off the race really strongly.
Again, Charlie Appleby not in town, but obviously happy through his assistant to get the Grade 1 victory up here at Saratoga with El Cordobas in the Sword Dancer a little bit earlier on the card. Yeah. Laurelin continues to be undefeated. The question mark was the distance, but she answered that question. Graham Motion subsequently said probably aiming for the QE2 at Keeneland, maybe a race in between, but and I think I was kind of eavesdropping another interview. I think he said, I don't believe I've ever had a 5-for-5 horse before, which is believable. I don't think it happens that often, but it happened with Laurelin yesterday, and Kendrick Carmouche was on board, but that was a nice victory to stay undefeated.
Yeah, I wasn't questioning the distance for this one. The Dams bottom breeding again in the Dams only when she won going over 2 miles over in the UK, so that made sense as well.
Past the quarter pole and come for home. An Opulent Restraint and Laurelin renewing their rivalry with.
And once they kind of get ticking and rolling here, and again, you have to find the stat, but Arnaud Delacour, second off the layoff, turf routes, you have to pay attention to his horses. So I just thought that worked out as well. I did like what I saw in the paddock there as well with Dylan.
And again, nice victory there for Laurelin to stay undefeated.
Yep.
And the aforementioned Kendrick, always fun. He was enthusiastic, as you would believe, in the winner's circle afterwards. So again, a little short interview, but here's Kendrick after the win in the Oaks yesterday.
The confidence and the relaxedness in this horse to become a good horse, and that's what we look for in this industry. And I think I really got one this one. So I like to thank Graham Motion and these owners. They've done such a fantastic job with spacing this filly out to be successful, bringing her back off the bench and coming back and win at Aqueduct. Beautiful job by Graham Motion. I take my hat off to him. I'm just a pilot.
You've been on her 4 or 5 times now. How much improvement have you seen?
She just keep getting better. She's one of them, you know. She sits in your hand, and if you move your hand, she go. If you pull your hands back, she relax. It's like driving a Maserati, to be exact. You know, she's such a sweetheart too. You know, she make you feel like a winner, and when a horse make you feel like a winner, you become one.
How did he walk out of the interview with no go Louisiana?
Exactly. I don't know, but he was probably so happy and so thrilled with how the race went. And sometimes those things, they kind of go by the wayside. You forget about him.
But he's having a nice meet. 15 wins, sitting, 6th on the leaderboard right now. And Kendrick's just so much fun to root for and watch. And so congratulations to that team as well, Graham and Kendrick and company. And just before we wrap up this segment, wanted to take a look at the Arlington Million. I'll tip my cap to Howard Kravitz. I had Howard in yesterday doing some handicapping, and we took a look at the Arlington Million. He gave the thumbs up to Fort Washington. He had posted a picture of his HHH Racing podcast crew with Junior Alvarado. A day before, I guess, he said, I was talking to Junior. Junior is really high on Fort Washington, and the Shug horse gets it done. We're going to watch the stretch run. It'll be Fort Washington getting it done. Number 6 source, Grand Sonata, number 7 runs 2nd. And the West Point runner, number 8 Integration, runs 3rd, but at $13.40. Nice win from Fort Washington. As I say, nice call by Howard Kravitz
And
as well.
Nice second by Grand Sonata too.
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to see this horse run over here, but good positioning by Todd to put this horse over at the Colonial effort. This horse is just knocking on the door for another grade 2, possibly grade 1 win. But yeah, Fort Washington, nice overall day that they had at Colonial as well. I think they had a bit of a handle record as well. So just don't quote me on it, but there was a lot of stuff going on over at Colonial. So that was a nice one for all the connections.
Yeah, they have a nice meet down there in the summertime. There's a lot of familiar names that go, and that happened yesterday with the stakes action as well. But nice Arlington Million. Howard and company from Chicago were a little upset that I was calling it the Arlington Million. They insisted on calling it the Million. They're a little jealous now with Arlington gone, and I understand totally.
Yeah.
Did you ever ride or ever visit?
No.
I never got to Arlington, but it looked like it was a gorgeous facility.
So I've been once. I grew up in Northeast Wisconsin. So actually my parents, and they own a business, and they would take it would be like their business, fun summer trip. They took a lot of friends. They took a lot of people down to Arlington throughout the summer. So yeah, I'm going to be missed terribly, but tradition somewhat continues on over at Colonial.
Yeah. All right, we'll head for a break. When we come back a little bit later on, Travis Stone will join us, the track announcer down at Churchill, but also a very good handicapper. We're going to take a look at some of the action this afternoon with Travis and more. But right after the break, as I mentioned, Tracy Egan is in the house, the executive director of the New York Thoroughbred Breeding and Development Fund. I thought a great time to have her come up and talk about the Breeding and Development Fund with the New York Bred sale kicking off tonight. And I'll remind you, that's at 7 tonight and 12 noon tomorrow, facing Tipton Pavilion right down the street. If you've never been and watched one of the auctions live, a lot of fun. So maybe put it on your agenda. If you're coming up to the track today, make it your after-track destination. It's like 2 blocks away from the racetrack. But we'll talk New York Breds right after this. Stay tuned. All right.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
For centuries, the bond between horse and human has been forged in trust and hands-on care. Now the sport of thoroughbred racing is combining those timeless traditions with cutting-edge technology to raise our standards of equine safety to the highest level. Wearable biometric devices measure subtle changes in a horse's stride to help optimize safety and performance. State-of-the-art imaging technology helps pinpoint areas of potential concern for early intervention by expert veterinarians. And the sport's new independent regulator, the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Authority, is using AI and enhanced data modeling to help prevent injury.
Quarter mile was a quick one.
From sunrise to sunset, there's an ecosystem of trust and care and a commitment to well-being. So win or lose, it's safety that runs first. To learn more, visit safety.
Welcome back to Loose on the. I almost said Racing Across America again, but Loose on the. I do that for 4 days a week, and so I'm in the habit. But it's Loose on the Lead on a Sunday. Happy to be Back here on our clear court set, as usual, again on another great morning up here at Saratoga that will lead into yet another great afternoon. As promised before the break, we are joined now by Tracy Egan, Executive Director, New York Thoroughbred Breeding and Development Fund. Tracy, good morning.
Good morning. It is a beautiful morning here. Do you get tired of saying that?
No, I never get tired of saying that. I was tired the morning we were in here, and it was hard to hear my co-host because the rain was so hard. But I said we had so much rain earlier in the year, it all averages out. So I think we now turned around, and I have my fingers crossed. Next week looks good. So.
Well, I know all the farmers are making hay. My farm got done over the past few days, and the other day we heard thunder as we're cutting the hay, and I called him on the tractor so he could hear me, and I hear thunder. He goes, no, it can't happen. But there were people around us that got rain, but I was lucky.
Yeah, there you go. You talk about the farm, and I remember you on WRGB as a news anchor, but now on the breeding side of things and with the breeding fund, and we'll talk the breeding fund in a minute, but talk a little bit about, you've been on the horse side of things for quite a while, I think overlapping the news anchor. Talk about how you got into the game.
Well, as a child, I started saving money when I was 3. My parents said they couldn't afford a horse. So I started saving money when I was I think 14. I'd saved up $350. My dad read the Daily Gazette every day, and then I'd go to the back. There was a horse for sale for $350. Took all my money, walked to where the horse was, turned it over. He said it was a 15-year-old quarter horse mare. It turns out she was in her late 20s, but she was definitely a safe horse. And when your kid gets a horse, you do want it to be a nice, safe horse. So, and I, loved horses, and I always read books like The Black Stallion by Walter Farley, which talked about horse racing, and the story about Black Gold. So I read all those stories, and then I came up here from New York. I was originally going to raise Connemara ponies, because I had a Connemara pony after my quarter horse mare. And but the bottom had fallen out of the Thoroughbred market. In 1986, they changed the tax code. So the mares that had been selling for, $20,000, you get it for like $2,000. And one of the things that's going to probably be spurring more big spending at this New York Bred sale, as last week at the open sale, where there's a $4.1 million sales stopper, is the tax code has been changed. There's now 100% write-off every year for 5 years before they'll look at it again. For if you spend the money on a horse, you should go, 100%, 80%, and down every year. But in the big beautiful bill, it was something good for the horse industry, at least certainly for these horse sales.
And now talk about, again, you got into it as a kid, which is why is it that girls are more into horses than guys? I can never figure that out.
Because they don't have noisemakers on the horses. I always thought if you put like a noisemaker on the horse, it goes when you trot and when you canter, then boys would be attracted.
You're right. I had like a little fake motor on my bicycle when I was a kid. The only thing it did was make noise. So you might be onto something there. But now, as I say, Executive Director of the New York Thoroughbred Breeding and Development Fund. For folks who aren't familiar, describe what the fund does.
Well, the fund they wrote the legislation for it back in 1973 because the lawmakers looked around. There was a lot of farmland that was going fallow. Dairy farms were closing. And they said, maybe we could invigorate a horse breeding business here. There were a few farms around here. The Rich Farm was one of them, which is now like a riding stable or show horse grounds. And they said, we're going to create monetary incentives to promote the breeding of quality thoroughbreds in the interest of preserving New York's agricultural land. So at heart, we're an agricultural program. The money that we get in when money passes through the window or from the VLT machines at the Finger Lakes Racetrack and Aqueduct, we get a small portion of that money, and we give 87% of that back out in breeder awards, owner awards, stallion awards, or purse enrichment. So those are the incentives. So you don't get the incentive if you don't produce a good horse that gets to the racetrack and finishes first, second, or third. So that's how it's a kind of a quality control. We give 2% of our revenue to the Zweig Fund at Cornell to do research. And it's one of my board members, Dr. Bill Wilmot, is also on the board of the Zweig Fund at Cornell. And so we get great updates. And a lot of times the research that they come up with when they're looking for something in the horses, it has a spillover effect that helps humans too. And
I put up a slate. Folks want more information on the breeding fund fun. NewYorkBred.Breds.com. You can check out the website. A lot of great information there. But I mentioned earlier on the handicapping show when I was going over the lineup and said you were going to be here. I had Roddy Valenti in a couple of weeks ago, and we've had other New York breeders and whatnot talk about just how much fun and it can be. He had Bustin' Stones, and obviously he had a lot of his own homebreds go out on the track, but he had a lot of horses that were bred by Bustin' Stones but owned by somebody else. But he'd sit there and root for him because he'd get the Breeders' Award check.
Yeah, I bred to that stallion, and it produced a horse that he named Stony Soprano.
I like that.
And it was a wonderful horse. He was a good racehorse. And then he retired through the Finger Lakes Thoroughbred adoption program. And Melissa Porter, who heads that program, took him in for herself. And she called me up to wanting to know if I had any more Bustin' Stones. So those Bustin' Stones horses have a great personality. You know, they're very handy. They can play polo. They can be a trail horse.
Yeah, nice.
Her daughter would paint the horse like an Indian horse and just have lots and lots of fun.
And that is, I always say, that's a great part about the New York Bred. I'll ask you also, to me, this dates me a little bit, but I think the New York Bred program really kind of turned the corner when Fiorito came with Les Hewlett, broke through the gate and still won the Whitney. To me, that was the turning point of the New York Bred program. But now I say it when I get people in here who own New York Breds and race New York Breds. I had Rich Cristiano from Adelphi in here yesterday, a couple of days ago, talking about Pandagate. You have a good New York Bred now. You have so many options because you can go against open company, but the New York Bred program itself has become so lucrative.
Well, it's not, the program's never meant to make anybody rich, but the awards are going to help you pay your stud fees or pay a vet bill or pay your tax bill. You know, the awards that are earned in July and August, we pay those out in September. That will help with your school tax bill. And so anyway, those incentives, that's why the incentives are there, and it's very encouraging. And also, we have really seen an improvement in the quality of the New York Breds. They're not your father's Chevrolet, you know. They're just excellent, excellent horses. Pandagate, and my favorite trainer right now is Miguel Clement. I'm so happy. Every time I see him win, he's always got a smile on his face. And what a wonderful legacy that he's carrying on for his father. His father saddled a horse for me 2 summers in a row, Great Will, that was just named for my dad. And the first summer he was third, the next summer he was second. So I didn't get the win from Christophe, but I was grateful to have the connection.
Yeah, and again, it's nice to see Miguel doing as well.
Yes.
Starting with that Belmont Stakes weekend when he won the Grade 1 in the final race of that weekend, and kind of then led into the remainder of the Saratoga summer where he's been doing very well. You mentioned not your father's New York Breds, and again, the New York Bred program has become lucrative with they're changing purse structures and whatnot. But that all plays into, I've said it, I love going over to the open sale over here, but over the last 5 years or maybe a little bit longer, the New York Bred sale down the street has become very popular because, again, New York Breds, they aren't your father's New York Bred. They're good runners. They can compete in open company, and that just plays into the whole New York Bred program, this sale, which kicks off again tonight at 7 o'clock.
Yep, and Teresa Gennaro, in her article in this morning's Blood Horse that I read, was quoting somebody as predicting that there would be a 10% increase in sales average. So hope that's good. You know, might even be more than that. I think it could be higher than that 10%. I just want to brag a little bit about the New York program.
Sure.
You know, as the fall crops are going down annually nationwide, ours leveled out and have come back.
Nice.
1446 in 2023, up to 1550.
Very good.
1530 last year, and I think we're going to be higher this year again.
You mentioned earlier, you know, the impetus for starting the breeding fund, maybe to help out agriculture and farms. And for folks who aren't familiar, and again, I think we get a lot of new fans that watch the show during Saratoga get pulled into the game. There are a lot of breeding farms around here. You know, McMahon and the Bonds have the nice farm. A lot of great breeding farms around here. And I will tout once again on that front, the breeding farm tours that go with the breakfast, I think, have become very popular.
They're extremely popular. One of them is Old Tavern, and I think the Bonds, their farm. And then next Saturday, Cornell Cooperative Extension is sponsoring a farm tour where you can, go to my website. I'll have something up there. But if you just look up Cornell Cooperative Extension, and I've been sharing their promotions on the NY Breds Facebook page, follow us at NY Breds on Facebook, and then you'll be getting updates on farm tours and things like that. There's 270 horses cataloged, maybe 271 for the auction tonight and tomorrow. So, and there's a lot of partnerships that are forming. I was talking to Jack Knowlton yesterday of Saratoga Stables Funny Side fame and Tis the Law fame. And he was saying that, and just as I found a few years ago when I did a story at the National Museum of Racing where they invite people to come in and tell people about the partnerships they have going. And most people now, when they're asking about going into a partnership, they're asking about aftercare. They want to know the horse is not going to be a throwaway. So that's a good question to ask the partnership that's approaching you. You want to say, well, I'm going to fall in love with this horse. I want to follow this horse and I want him to win and, go on to be a stud. But if he isn't, what's the plan?
Yeah, I had Rick Schosberg in talking a little bit about Aftercare Day because it's become such a part of the game over the last 5 or 10 years. So it's nice to hear that, when people are thinking about getting in the game, that's kind of forefront.
Yeah, at nybreds.com, we have an icon on the homepage where you can contribute money that goes to aftercare. We previously we could not make any donations to aftercare, but we have this dedicated aftercare fund. So if somebody's got an emergency, they can come to us and describe what the emergency is, and we'll try and get them some help with their horse. But for the past 12, 14 years, I started spending promotional money with aftercare facilities within New York State.
Nice.
So in a way, it's breeders helping to support aftercare, because otherwise it would be distributed to everybody.
Yeah.
And last year we provided $273,000 in promotional spending to aftercare facilities. And that brought our total from the time I started doing it up to over $1.3 million.
Very nice.
So I'd like to see other state programs.
Sure.
What are you doing to help aftercare?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, aftercare, I think New Vocation says the same. Aftercare shouldn't be an afterthought.
I like that. It's become a prominent part of the game. And New York is kind of at the forefront. As I said, Rick Schosberg in, and, he's a big part of the New York Thoroughbred horsemen being part of, the Take Two program and take the lead. They've done a good job there, finding second careers or retirement.
Well, they're the ones who help us when there's an emergency. I have to go through a protocol. I have to have two people, me and another check signer from the board, and we have to have paperwork to support any spend.
Yeah.
Take Two here's an emergency, and they step to the forefront. Rick helped what we call it the Unadilla 44. There were 44 horses that were going to the Unadilla sale, and breeders got together and we protected every single one of those horses from going to a bad home. And Susan Kane was instrumental too. She took 4 of the mares, but Rick was the guy with the checkbook.
Very good.
I'd call him up on the phone. Can he help this one? Yep, and he helped.
Very good. So again, people can check out nybreds.com for more information on the breeding fund. But again, it has been an important part of the game for a while now. And kind of helped elevate the New York Bred program to where it is. Since the inception, breeding farms around the state, providing economic, a little boost to the state as well, keeping green space. So again, congratulations on the Thoroughbred Breeding and Development Fund.
People are fans of Moplex. He's got a half brother in the sale.
Oh, there you go. Very nice.
There's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, and again, I highly tout going down the street and catching. I'll be there tonight, certainly, but tomorrow in the afternoon as well. So keep that in mind. 7 tonight, noon tomorrow for the sale. And I wanted John just to talk about all this in advance of the sale. I also, before you go, I want to pull up because I couldn't get over there, and you can describe for me what I missed. But the Hall of Fame, I went to your Twitter feed yesterday, and I pulled up some video you had of the Hall of Famers getting off as a milestone year at the museum. I know they were trying to get as many Hall of Famers as they could. You have Julie Crone
and her daughter Laurelin.
Crazy. Angel Cordero, Pat Day, Sandy Hawley, Edgar Prado, Jose Santos. And I know they were trying, you're not going to get everybody, but you can inform me. I was here doing TV, so I couldn't get over here, but it sounded like they had a good lineup of Hall of Famers.
Oh, they did. And every one of them was so gracious. Edgar Prado, Pat Day. I mean, just how wonderful. Pat Day I met a few years ago at the one conference I was allowed to go to out in Arizona, the racing conference. And he said he gave up riding to really turn his life over to Christ.
Yeah,
And because he said he realized he'd be winning a grade 1 and it wasn't filling with the same joy and excitement.
Yeah.
So now he does his work, on the chaplaincy level.
Yeah.
To help people.
Speaking of the chaplaincy, I had Umberto in the other day. The chaplaincy here does great work as well.
Yes.
But they had the basketball game the other night, so we talked a little bit about that. A fun way to support the chaplaincy. They have the brunch coming up as well. But you mentioned Julie Crone, and Helen Alexander was there greeting the folks, and it was fun to see Julie Crone back in Saratoga.
It was. I love the blue streak she had in her.
And so, as I say, I missed it over there, but I heard that it was a good lineup of Hall of Famers, and I saw a bunch of them bouncing around the track in the afternoon as well.
Yeah, and they live streamed that feed now, so that's great.
It's great because they made the right move a few years ago when they moved it over to facing Tipton, because it had clearly outgrown over at the museum, but now it's jam packed over there.
It really is. If you want to be sure you get a seat, you try to get there.
Early.
Starts at 10. 9:30 is kind of the cutoff point to really be sure you're going to get a seat. And I mentioned Jack Nolan. He mentioned yesterday that he's getting support from NYRA to have a New York Bred Hall of Fame that would be based down in Belmont Park.
I like that.
Yeah, with that $500 million facility and track makeover.
Yeah, I like that. And you were talking about the partnership seminar over there. Sally Yellen from Country Life stopped by earlier this morning to say hello. She was parked out as I drove in and got out, and I was talking to her, and she was participating in it. She said it was a great turnout for that partnership. She said a really enthusiastic audience of folks who were kind of brand new and interested in the partnerships become so popular. It was good to hear that there was a nice
and
growth.
there were newcomers who said, I want to be part of the game, but they want to have a controlled spending. They're not going to know how to pick a horse out over at the sale tonight, but oh my gosh, some good looking horses, a lot of first year sire power there, and some New York Stallions, proven New York Stallions such as Bucaro, Central Banker, Salamini, all represented over there.
Bucaro I really like. I like him with the early types. And part of what I say about going to the sale is you get the catalog, you look through, it can teach you a little bit about the breeding side of the game, which up here at Saratoga with 2-year-olds is very, very important. So keep it in mind.
And remember those yearlings being sold, they will be running for purse parity, meaning the same purse you see offered for open company horses this year, the 2-year-olds will race that next year, and then the following year, 2027, purse parity for all the New York races.
Yeah, New York Bred program definitely has taken leaps and bounds since I started getting into the game. In the Fiorito days, as they say, with Les Hewlett on board, winning the Whitney, that was the turning point, but it has come a long way since. Part of that is the New York Thoroughbred Breeding and Development Fund. Tracy Egan, the executive director, appreciate the visit.
And I appreciate the chat. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll head to a break. When we come back, Travis Stone is in the house with a little handicapping and more. Stay tuned.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse. Haven't signed up for a Capital OTB account yet? Now's the time to take advantage of the sign-up bonus. Open up a new account with $200 or more, bet $400 by the end of the month, and receive a bonus $200 into your account. Plus, you can take advantage of everything an OTB account has to offer: wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, past performances, online promotions, and more. Sign up today and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at capitalotb.com.
Journalism, here comes Sovereignty, and they square off, heading to the final furlong of the Kentucky Derby. Final Gambit and Baeza trying to close in late. Sovereignty has taken the lead. Journalism has to fight back. Journalism has lost the lead to Sovereignty. It's time for the Royal Blue to don some red. Sovereignty wins the Derby.
Live in the booth at Churchill Downs for this year's Kentucky Derby with a win by Sovereignty. It was track caller from Churchill Downs, Travis Stone, who joins us now. Kali Francois back on set as well. Travis, good morning.
How we doing?
Very good.
Beautiful Sunday.
Yeah, and it's been kind of a tradition to have the camera in the booth for the race call. And just, I say it every time you come here. I remember the days when you did the podcast in the closet down at the Saratoga Special. You were calling into your tape recorder up on the roof. What's it like now to be in the booth down at Churchill for the Derby?
Very stressful, but a lot of fun. I've been very lucky. But coming back here, I do remember those Saratoga Special days. Yeah. I think the radio show was Travis at the Track. I had some good guests for, being
I was on.
Yeah, a little college fellow.
Yeah.
And then, of course, coming up here to hang out in the summer, see the family, friends, and all that stuff. No, life is good. No complaints.
Yeah. And again, it was a podcast before there were podcasts. You were a trailblazer.
I should have just kept going with it. I could have been something.
Yeah, you could have made something of yourself. When you sat down, you said nice day yesterday, and I was curious because I know you're a contest player, and they had the big contest over here. And I had Matt Miller on Friday and Howard Kravitz yesterday. They were both playing in the contest, and you kind of knocked out.
We were right there. We finished second and fifth.
Nice.
Good score. Just one of those, you get on heaters sometimes in this game. And I loved the Chad Brown horse mid card. That was 2-1. I can't remember the name now, the 7. I thought that horse was a cinch. And when he was 2-1, I was like, okay, I'm in. And you just kept going from there. And you always go back, you play these contests. There's maybe a bet or two you could have done differently that would have won. Or if Alieska holds on right over the other Chad that beat it on the wire, I probably win the contest. I liked Alieska a little bit more. So, but it was good. No complaints and a lot of fun. Those contests are a big challenge.
Yeah.
It's a totally different ball game. And a lot of the people that play in them, they play a lot of them. It's very difficult to even contend. But there's a sharp group of horse players, and it's fun to be competing with them.
It wasn't only live, right? It was online. So I'm assuming was Marshall playing? Marshall Graham, was he playing?
Oh, yeah. He ended with double zeros. Just in case he's watching, I'm just trolling him a little bit.
Which actually, when you look at these contests, that's not unusual because a lot of people, they have a goal and they're shooting to make a score early in the day. And then it's just like, well, I'm pushing all in at some point.
Yeah. It's, I think the way you think about it is you start with a target in mind. You try to get to a certain dollar amount.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you back your way through the card and say, okay, where are my opinions? It is very hard and you can't do it. Nobody can sit there and just hit race after race after race. Inevitably, it comes down to 2 or 3 opinions that you just happen to crush. And the one thing that makes it most challenging is you can't think of your bankroll as money anymore. You have to think of it as chips at a poker table in a tournament, and you have to be willing to shove them all in.
That's what with the conversation with Matt, and I've had it with Matt a few times, and he's always chastising me because I always say, I just once it got up to a certain level, I wouldn't be able to push all in. I just like this is a great day for me. This is insane. I'm not pushing all in.
Even like for yesterday, one of the entries I had was at 5,000 or so. The other was at 3,000. The one thing I did do is I held $2,000 back because it was a $1,000 entry. I had 2 entries, so it's like it'd be nice to break even. I had enough to make a move on the leader. And which I did, past him, but unfortunately somebody else bet even more on the winner. And I was on 3 horses in there. I didn't have a super strong opinion. I just didn't like the price on Chad's number 2 in there, and so I bet the 5, 7, 10. Somebody else
and honestly,
bet a little bit harder.
Well, as you go through the card, you've got to be able to lean on or away from your opinions. At what point during the contest do you kind of which direction you go in?
It depends on the leaderboard a little bit.
Right.
I didn't start betting until the 6th race or so, though.
Oh, wow.
I went to the Paddock for the 2-year-old race, saw some friends early in the card.
Are there minimum number of races?
Yeah, you have to bet 5 races in this one at 150. There's 12 race cards. That's illegal. And I always like to let things settle a little bit and get in that. I mean, if somebody comes right off the rip and scores with a $20,000 win early in the card, well, then you realize that probably not playing for first today, So I like to be patient. Let the card develop a little bit, see if the track has any
That's
tendencies.
what I was going to ask. See if you see any biases. You honestly being the booth all the time. How big is that into your handicapping and your playing?
It's everything.
Yeah.
The one thing, Saratoga, the turf courses here, they're pretty tightly turned. And so you have to get an idea of how those courses are playing, especially as we get later into the meet. We've had dry weather now for, a week and a half. Yeah. We're going to have it for another week. Yeah. We can all remember those summers where that inside part of that inner turf becomes a highway.
Yeah, sprinklers were going last night.
Yeah, they need to keep going because that can be real quick down there. So, but it's fun.
Well, when you talk about those tight turns and when you're looking at these horses who are coming maybe from out of town who have never run on this turf before, I mean, how deep are you looking into those horses that are trying the Saratoga turf for the first time with these turns?
I would say I'm going to counter your question with sort of a different point. I would actually look more at the jockeys.
Perfect. Okay.
Especially because now Jose Ortiz moved his tack to Kentucky. And in Kentucky, there's no such thing as slow paces. In 9 out of 10 races, these guys are going. And if you notice, Jose is way more aggressive since he came back to New York this summer. And so I think that's more at play. There's a horse in today, Hop Sing, breaking on the far outside in the last race. I'm assuming he's still in. He might have scratched, whatever. But that's Jose, post 11 right now, going 2 turns on the dirt, quick run to the first turn. I'm fully expecting that horse to go. Whereas Jose 4 or 5 years ago might have been a little bit more passive. So I look more at riders as opposed to whether or not horses want to do that stuff. Because think about, visualize all the 2-turn turf races here. There's quick runs to the turn in almost all of them.
Yep.
Even the mile and eighth races on the inner, even though it's the entire stretch, it's a tight turn. So they really get aggressive to get position. It's not uncommon to see really fast quarters that they really back down as they go around that turn. And it can be very frustrating if you're on the wrong side of the pace component,
And it just dawned on me. I don't want to maybe I shouldn't say this to remind you, but they gave one BC seat away yesterday, right?
Donnie from Naira, if you're watching, next year it better be 2.
Oh man, yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
And you're a BC player, yes?
I don't buy into it because we usually race at Churchill, so I'm not gonna.
Oh, correct.
If I qualify for it, I'll figure out how to play that between races at Churchill.
Yeah,
next year's at Keeneland though, so we won't race at Churchill then.
Okay.
Work for that. Yeah.
Definitely get the 2 in then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a very good day. Congratulations.
It's fun.
And being a contest player, ask everybody this, and the answer is pretty much the same. I have to get to the NHC because we went out and covered it for 2 years. It's so much fun. It's like the Horse Players Convention, but it's a mythical win place. And I think most contest players like that. Everybody says going to the NHC is a goal because it's so much fun, but they seem to like the live money better.
The NHC and those $2 win place, even with caps, kind of become stab fest later in the day.
Yeah.
And whereas money contests, you actually have to have an opinion, and betting, as we all know, almost everybody can consider themselves decent handicappers. But when you have to then combine that with good wagering strategy and good bets, that's where things kind of fall apart a bit. So it allows us for the elite players to kind of rise to the top. Whereas the NHC is just a little bit more random. So many races, and when you're late on Saturday at the NHC and this 30-1 capper wins, you actually want to ask those folks, the 40 of them that hit it, how many of you actually would have bet that horse if you had to put 200 of your own money on the line?
That's what to me is a little bit frustrating. I always say, because I try to get out there and I can't, but I try to play as many of those online contests as I can. I just don't get a chance to play that, and I missed last year by like $1.80 on one of the contests going to Vegas. But I say for every 50 people, you get a $60 horse. At least one person on every 50. So in that room of 800 people, if there's a big price, as you said, you're going to be looking at.
And then because of the nature of the structure of the tournament, it's always a little bit more than it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But that's part of the game. You just got to know it going in.
But again, the NHC is so much fun because everybody's there, and it's just a great few days.
For sure.
Before we get into thoughts for this afternoon, we just saw you call the 2025 Derby, Sovereignty over Journalism. I want to pull up the Jim Dandy from a little bit earlier in the meet. Watch the nice win, Sovereignty over Baeza, and just get your thoughts on 3-year-old crop so far and Sovereignty, who's just looked so good going right through the Derby and the Jim Dandy and the Belmont Stakes. Your thoughts on the 3-year-olds overall and Sovereignty?
I think they're all running to try and beat him. His development has been spectacular. I thought the race the Derby was the Derby that the race set up for him The pace was fast. He had a good trip. Everything went his way that day. I loved his Belmont because for a while he was largely considered a horse that's going to drop out and require some pace to make a big move. And all of a sudden he was sort of right there.
Yeah.
And I actually tweeted about it. So not only is he good from off the pace, he's also going to be capable of being close to the pace too. I mean, talk about, it's just dangerous.
Yeah.
No, you can't beat that. And as much respect as I have for journalism, I probably am rooting for journalism more because they have danced all these dances. I respect those that respect the Triple Crown. He's going to have to find 3 or 4 lengths to beat Sovereignty, or Sovereignty's going to have to regress. But there was nothing about the Jim Dandy, in my opinion, that made that look like it was possible. Although I do get the argument, it kind of looked more workmanlike. But I kind of view Bill Mott as a more workmanlike trainer, and he knew that they were never that the Jim Dandy was never the target this summer. The target is in a couple of weeks.
It was a published and paid workout, essentially.
That's exactly what I was thinking of Jim Dandy. It was like, they got the bigger fish to fry down the road. So it was a great setup for that.
Baeza ran well too. I mean, I'll give Baeza credit. I've always liked him a little bit. That was a huge step forward. Unfortunately for him, he was born in the same year as journalism and sovereignty.
They're saying Baeza potentially Pacific Classic or Pennsylvania Derby for that one. We'll see where journalism winds up as well. It's going to be a fun end of the year, as it was last year. This year, I think the early part of the year was stronger with Sovereignty, journalism, Baeza than last year. Last year, you got to the summer, and they were just undefined. But by the end of the year, the 3-year-olds stepped up, and now as 4-year-olds, they have made the handicap division what it is. But this year's 3-year-olds are already kind of knocking it out of the park. So looking forward to
a strong group.
The end of the year and them facing some of the olders. All right, let's get some thoughts for this afternoon up here at Saratoga. Let's kick it off in race 8. I'm interested to see what your thoughts are because I'm taking a little swing in here. My dark horse play today, brought to you by the Dark Horse Mercantile in downtown Saratoga. I went with the 3, American Grant. I have a couple of Bruce Brown runners at prices on top today, but this one has some recent form, whereas some others in here who are worth taking a look at. Maybe their recent form isn't as good, but off the close-up third in the seasonal debut and then the win last time, I thought American Grant was very interesting. Ricardo Santana having a nice meet, 10-1. I went 3, 7, 2, and 8. What did you see in the 8?
I agree with you on the 3. Talk about riders. Santana's having a great meet. That's another guy that rode in Kentucky, kind of got some pace into his brain, and now he's being aggressive here and it's panning off. It feels like American Grant's on a different bit of a form cycle versus last year, just improved a little bit from that prior form. I don't mind slapping the face from the rail, who that was a runoff in that most recent race, was kind of against the best part of the turf, in my opinion. Tony Dutrow always seems to sneak around with some okay runners in Saratoga. And believe it or not, the inside post when I'm on an 8th on the turf here is it's pretty stout in terms of like win expectation. They win more than they're supposed to. And if you look back to this horse's PPs, I mean, how many bad races has he run? There's very few. I mean, so I just like the second off the brief freshening with a forward move and a couple of excuses last time.
I don't have any arguments there. Kali, you have any thoughts?
Russian Realm caught my attention here. Danny Gargan gets Joel Rosario. They team up pretty well together. The Dam was a stakes winner on just all route, all grass. I've got to forgive this one for the Rick Violet. Yielding turf, first time on the turf. I'm just giving that horse a pass. This one could potentially really be woken up on the turf today.
Danny Coldwatered us on his 2-year-old yesterday.
Oh, somebody else said that. I was up in the press box. I think somebody said.
He said like 4 weeks ago, I got a McKenzie that can really run. And then yesterday, that might need one.
Somebody else
didn't need nothing.
Yeah,
he owes us a drink.
He's getting a bad rep there, but because it was a nice winner.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Russian Realm. Katie Davis had been riding Joel Rosario on. She's over in Europe. Yeah, and I think she was on the rest of the world team. And
she was.
I read the rest of the world team did not. I think they were 4th in the.
Yeah, kind of had It's just the way those races work. It's just kind of you get the stock that you get, and you just.
Is it randomly selected?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's not like you have an agent that can get you like the best horse. This isn't the Royal Ascot where you can come in and you can you can try and find an agent to get you a couple of extra rounds. No, it's kind of completely randomized, and you just have to go with. They started off strong, but it is what it is. But I spoke with Katie beforehand before she left, and I know it was a good experience for her. But she's ready to get back home.
So it's always fun, and they have 4 teams. One's based in the UK, one's the rest of the world. There are a couple other locations, and you can check out the results online. Certainly. All right, 9th race today, the Mahoney. I'm looking forward to this one. I pulled up a replay of the quick call, and I'm kind of landing on the quick call runners. I have 1, 2, 3 again. I couldn't get past Governor Sam and his performance in this race. But we're friends with Bonaventure. They're advertisers here, Dan Collins and company. I thought Ortley Avenue ran really well in his second career start, so I kept him there. And no evidence third in this replay, and I have him third again today. Spiced Up was a little bit interesting to me. Saturday Flirt from Wesley Ward. I might kick myself. I left that one out as well as Gabbled On. But what did you see in the Mahoney?
I tried to find a way to beat Governor Sam. The problem for Ortley Avenue in here is that D'Angelo's runner, Gabaldon, is very quick. And so he's going to have company on the front end today. And I just think that might be a little bit too much for both of them. But unfortunately, that just sets the table for Governor Sam, who's got a beautiful post to sit just off them and, just outside of them, let that develop and move as he wants. And the other problem for me was I couldn't find too many alternatives. Innovator had a great trip up the inside at Ellis last time in a race that really was gapped out. I don't like the rail here, going 5.5. I suppose Jet Sweep Joe might be my one creative idea. If those top two knock it out pretty good on the front end and set a quick pace, Governor Sam takes the lead. I think that makes second and third a little bit up for grabs, and that might be one that's going to come on for a piece where this time he'll get a little bit more pace than he got last time. No evidence. My one read on no evidence, I don't know if he loves to pass horses. He kind of idled down inside when he tried to come up the inside there. And even that Gulfstream race that he ran second in, it felt like he didn't really want to get by the speed in there.
You need to trick that horse to win a race,
Yeah. Feels like you have to time it just right.
You do, yeah.
And I'll ask you, Kelly, as a former jockey, there are horses that are like that, right? That just
they like
to be the bridesmaid.
They like to again, as you mentioned, you have to time it right. You have to kind of trick them into kind of where the wire is, and you see it all the time with some of these horses, especially with horses that are they broke their maiden, they're kind of especially if they're not quite getting there. It takes them a couple of times to get to it. So especially with a field like this, you're going to see a slew of that.
And I thought exactly the same thing you did about Ortley Avenue and Gabaldon, but the race 2 back where he kind of sat off the pace and still wound up second. I still thought Ortley Avenue was it. And again, it
not impossible.
Not impossible. May just be I'm friends with the connection, but I think that they did wind up for a partnership. They wound up with a nice horse there in Ortley Avenue. I will say that regardless of what happens today. 10th and final today. Milan in 8th for first level allowance runners. I went back to Tuscan Gold. I mean, Chad Brown was having a great meet. This horse had a lot of promise early in the career, laid off from the Preakness until a 4th place finish, which was obviously disappointing as the favorite, but a long layoff, a horse with some early punch in the career, second start off with that under the belt. Now I went there. Classicist is interesting to me, as is Pandagate, had the connections in a couple of days ago, and they're excited about this one, who ran third to Forever Young over in Dubai last year. So this is a really nice looking New York bred, but has been off a while. Interested to see your thoughts in the 10th.
Chad Brown's got great numbers adding blinkers. Tuscan Gold had no chance last time the way the race shook out and dropped out to last. That was a merry-go-round. There was just no pace. I think Interceptor, breaking 2 posts to his outside, is key for Tuscan Gold as another Chad Brown runner that has speed. I think they need to go with Classicist to get this race going a little bit. Otherwise, Classicist might forget to stop like he did last time, although that was a very soft pace and an easy setup. So I'm on Tuscan Gold. I just think the trip's going to be good down inside. The other 1.5 horses I'm looking at, I think Chileno is just going to fall into a good trip just off the pace and is going to be able to adapt to whatever may happen depending on how things go up front. Probably has to get a little bit better. The race back in December was a huge effort, first off the claim for Brad. Has not run poorly since then, so I don't want to hold it against him too much. But, still probably needs to take a step forward if some of these others do. And I like Hop Sing a bit. I'm just anticipating Jose being aggressive out of the gate like we talked about earlier, gets a forward spot. What has this horse done wrong?
I have him down in the 4th spot, so I agree with you. A little bit, the post position is a little bit of an obstacle for me. But as you say, maybe an aggressive ride gets him a good spot.
That is a tough post, so I would demand some value, and that's probably why I wouldn't lean on him up top. But he did beat Stars and Stripes, that nice horse. Is it a Mott? I think it's a Mott runner who's done very well this meet. He beat him 2 back, so there's some back lines there too.
And Hop Sing, you would automatically assume an Al Gold horse, and I think Al had Napoleon Solo the other day as well. I gotta love the Al Gold named horses.
You know where the Hop Sing is from, right?
Bonanza.
It's the Seinfeld episode too, the restaurant.
And he may be going with Seinfeld because he had the what's her name? The Bras, the top lady.
Yeah.
The name for so maybe he's going with that one. Yeah. All right. Travis, appreciate the visit. You're in for the whole meet.
We're here the whole time
Yeah,
until we run out of money.
Yeah, we love to see you in town. And then when the first fall meet start up?
So we have Labor Day week the following Thursday. So what is that? 10 or 11 days after Labor Day is our September meet at Churchill. 14 days. No turf. They preserve the turf course.
Okay.
But we've got a good lineup of stakes races. Lucas Classic. Hearing a big name or two could be thinking about that. So looking forward to that.
One thing I say about both of the fall meets down at Churchill, like up here at Saratoga, watch the 2-year-olds coming out of those.
In particular, the November meet, the Derby point system is sort of causing these guys. They're just starting them later and later and later, and you could be on a random sleepy Thursday in November in the 5th race or whatever race, and all of a sudden the Derby winner's in there.
Do you like that the trend is going that way because of the point system?
No, I think racing needs to have a strong 2-year-old program.
Yeah.
I could get on a huge soapbox about that.
All right.
No,
ask the question too late.
Yeah, no, you're good. I firmly believe that, though. Like the 2-year-old racing up here, that's a big part of what happens here. It's a big part of what happens out west, and it would be better for racing with stronger 2-year-olds.
We were talking just the other day. You go back to a firm in Aladar. By the time they got to Saratoga, they had a little bit of a resume already. That just seldom happens these days.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. The 2-year-old racing is so much fun, and because good 2-year-olds, you're already thinking, I wonder if this one can go to the Derby, and it just gets everybody kind of juiced up, I think.
I mean, I get it. The Derby's the biggest race in the world, and the sooner you can start talking about it, the better off we all are. Yeah.
And the guy calling it, Travis Stone, down at Churchill Downs. Again, doing a great job down there. As they say, remembering you from the Saratoga Special Days and down in the closet. Trailblazer, as far as a podcast before it was called a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like internet radio then, right?
I think that's what it was called.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But we appreciate the visit. If you're going to be in town the whole meet, maybe we'll plug in sometime a little bit later in the meet, maybe the Travers week. Maybe we'll talk some Travers.
Would love to do it. Anytime.
All right. And congratulations on the nice
Thank
performance. You playing the little $300 ones on Saturday?
When I think of it, sometimes I forget.
I'm in the same boat. I've done a couple of them so far, but
they're fun. Anybody that's out there, give them a shot. It's just a totally different way to approach the race.
That's what I tell people about. And it looks like, I said it earlier, I got an update a couple of days ago. It looks like low rollers will make it, and it'll be a little bit truncated at the end of the meet. But I would say the low rolls. I tell people, try contests because you think about handicapping a little differently.
Yeah.
You search for some value.
And it forces you to make an opinion. And and it forces you to find the value. 100%.
They're fun, no question about it. All right. We will wrap it up for this edition of Loose on the Lead. Travis, thank you.
My pleasure.
Kali, thank you.
Thank you,
and,
Seth.
and I think we'll see you again next week for Loose on the Lead.
I believe so.
Because I think Vic is debating between either Woodbine or Delmont.
That's tough to be Steve, isn't it? Poor Steve.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. And then he's tweeting out pictures of dinner a couple of nights ago.
That's a rough life he lives. Yeah.
But again, so we'll see you next week. We'll see you next Saturday, too, in the regular slot. Saturday afternoons, the Paddock commentary. Very good job this week with the little knee or little nigh, as it were. But we'll wrap it up for Loose on the Lead on this Sunday morning. Great Sunday. Come on up and enjoy it. Don't forget, again, the New York Bred Sales starts at 7 o'clock tonight. Put that on your agenda as well. Nice warm summer night down the street. Great way to spend it. But otherwise, we will wrap it up and remind you that Wednesday we're back in Loose on the Racing Across America at 10 o'clock, Handicapper Sport 9. And I do want to remind you also, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but we have a syndicate promotion coming up next Sunday. Entries are open now. So $25 gets you into a $750 pick 5 play. Last week they hit. Unfortunately, chalked out a little bit, but everybody got some money. So again, if you're interested in the syndicate, entries are now open at capitalotb.com. Otherwise, we'll see you Wednesday morning.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards Program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at capitalotb.com or capitalotbbet.com and claim your free money.
It's been referred to as possibly the best equine-themed gift shop on the planet. Impressions of Saratoga.
Impressions of Saratoga, celebrating the Saratoga and equestrian lifestyles. It's your #1 choice for Saratoga souvenirs, apparel, and gift shopping. We have gifts for the entire family, and we're pet friendly too. Visit us online at impressionssaratoga.com or come on down. Impressions of Saratoga, 368 Broadway, downtown Saratoga.
This may be a life changer.
The best of the best is a pretty damn big deal.
All walks of life are bound to this one game. It's just amazing.
It's special.
It's a different level of excitement. It's a different level of adrenaline.
This is the show.
It's surreal. It's wonderful. It's the mecca for tournaments.
From the backstretch at Saratoga, this is Loose on the Lead with Steve Bick and Seth Merrow. Loose on the Lead is sponsored by